Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our fourth session of our series, the Prime Migration series. Thank you for joining our Revamping Your Network Management, the ultimate guide to migration from Cisco Prime. My name is Praveen Chintala. I'm a leader in the campus automation team. I'm joined by two of our TSAs, Rusty Matos, who's also a TSA in the campus automation team, and Krishna Teja, also TSA in our campus automation team. And they will be speakers on this session. Today's session, we're going to be talking about Cisco Prime migration to cloud monitoring for Catalyst. We announced end of life for Prime in March of 2023, and we've given our customers three options to go towards the migration from Prime. And this is one of the options that we'll be covering today. So we do have an upcoming schedule. We've started the series on May 17th, and we have one more session to end the series, which is on June 29th. If you have missed any of these sessions, you can always go to our YouTube channel called Unplugged Connectivity, and then you can get all of those recording and the content, other content available in that YouTube channel. We are also going to be rerunning this entire series starting on July 12th all the way up to August 16th. So if you missed our first run, we can definitely catch us on the second run. I also want to remind attendees that we do have a Q&A panel that is ready to answer any questions. So please use the Q&A panel to ask your questions, and our experts are ready to help you answer those questions. And at the end of this session, we'll have a survey that'll pop up, which is only about 3 to 4 questions. Please take a few minutes and answer that survey. It helps us, get ready for other sessions as well as help us improve for the next series. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to our first speaker, Rusty Matos. Rusty, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Praveen. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Again, my name is Orestes Matos, Technical Solutions Architect on the Campus Automation team. So thank you for your time. This is the agenda. So basically, quickly cover the Prime end of life timeline, cover the options for Prime migration, which Praveen alluded to, and then mostly focus on cloud monitoring with the Catalyst switch and what that means and how to onboard, etc. And then Krishna, I'll hand over to Krishna, and he'll be able to walk you through a demo, a short demo. Okay, so with that, let me go ahead and start the first slide here. So for those that are new to the series, we want to make sure that we capture this content that calls out the timeline for the end of life announcement of Prime infrastructure. So that announcement came out again on the March 31st, 2023. In most cases, what customers try to do, if possible, is move away from Prime before the end of vulnerability. So the end of vulnerability would be September 28th of 25. Now, if that is not also possible, then ultimately you will have until the last day of support, which is September 28th of 2028. So the good news is that you're doing the right thing by attending these calls, these sessions, and getting the most information available to you. Prime had a long life, and it's about time that we move on to better things and better options, hopefully. So that's the timeline. So let me go ahead and talk about the Prime migration options. Firstly, not sure if the whole audience is aware that about a year ago, around Cisco Live timeframe, Cisco announced the best of cloud management with Meraki and the best in networking hardware with our Catalyst portfolio coming together so that we can have these Catalysts kind of monitored / managed in the Meraki dashboard, right? So bringing these two very popular, these two popular platforms and bringing them together. So let me go ahead and cover the options. So if you were in the last session, that was session 4, we covered DNA sensor. So I'll give you a brief recap. So option 1 was, basically DNA sensor, the DNA sensor use cases in terms of lifecycle management, in terms of what's available from an automation perspective, what's available from an assurance perspective, and basically, knowing that this option is basically the option to go from prime infrastructure to either an on-prem appliance solution or an instance which we call virtual appliance, which would sit in AWS. In the future, we will have this option available to other cloud providers, right? But we call this infrastructure as a service. That means that you will basically have to manage the instance of DNA sensor in the cloud. You would have to manage the instance of DNA sensor in the appliance. So that is not for everyone, right? There are customers that say, well, I don't need those use cases. My direction is cloud management, cloud solution. My direction is SaaS overall. In my environments, I have both Cisco Catalyst as well as Meraki. So you have this hybrid environment that you're having to maintain, and you're looking for one centralized view of the topology, as an example, right, of the inventory of the network. So that would be option 2, and we're going to focus on option 2 today. Option 3, which is kind of more future focused, is basically saying, I love Meraki as one example. I want to transition my entire estate to Meraki hardware, and that we call or refer to that as the Meraki full stack. So that would be option 3 in terms of managing your entire EN estate with the Meraki dashboard. Alternatively, like an option 3B, if you will, you will also be able to manage Catalyst iOS XE devices within the Meraki dashboard. So it's not an all or nothing from a management perspective. Option 2 is strictly focused on monitoring. So again, this is what we'll focus on today. It's basically focused on monitoring Catalyst switches within the dashboard. And I'm going to provide you with deeper insights in terms of where we are today, where we're headed, and also an example of how we can onboard a Catalyst. All right. So I quickly kind of want to backtrack a little bit for those that are not familiar with Meraki. So again, the Meraki option is the SaaS-based option, right? So that was option 2. Option 3, I want Meraki, I want SaaS. So what does Meraki do? Meraki is there to help make networking easier, right? That is their charter, I would say. They're a provider of SD-WAN, wireless, switching, security, physical security with cameras, as well as IoT, right? So they have sensors that could look for water in the floor, as an example. So the idea here is that they bring easy to networking, okay, and that is their main area of focus. So and for those that have the Meraki dashboard, you know what I'm referring to. The other thing is that it's geared in some cases and in many cases for lean ITs, because again, they're helping make things easier, giving you more flexibility in terms of managing your network. So what does that mean in terms of Catalyst and Catalyst iOS XE? So today, from a monitoring perspective, and notice how I stress monitoring over management. Again, we're at a monitoring phase of the Meraki support. From a monitoring perspective, you could see that we support these products on the left. So we have Catalyst 9200s, 9200CX, which are our compact switches, 9200Ls, which are basically fixed uplinks, as an example, 9300s, 9300Ls, 9300X. So 9300X is basically newer to the portfolio of Catalyst switches. We also have 9500s, which sit in the aggregation and core. And then at a minimum, you will need 17.3 and above iOS XE software. You will need a subscription license, so either DNA Advantage or DNA Essentials. Now, we have a little asterisk here with DNA Essentials. That means that you do not get full functionality within the monitoring aspects today of the dashboard. So I'm going to kind of hover over, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I'm going to call out in terms of what you do get from a monitoring capability within the Meraki dashboard. So the first is that you will get centralized view of the entire network. You will get real-time status of switch and port health. You will get remote monitoring, network topology, and then this last one here, traffic application visibility. That's where you will need a DNA Advantage license. Basically, this is geared towards application visibility. So that means that we're turning on things like NetFlow. We're sending NetFlow to the dashboard. And then that's why you require the DNA Advantage license. And we're using things, again, like NBAR, which can help identify over close to 1,500 applications. So that is the one difference in terms of license that as it stands today, right? The other thing that I'll call out is these APs. So here, just from a SKU perspective, we're calling these CWs. They're CW 9166, 9164, and 9162. These are actual dual persona APs. So what that means is that when you order these initially, you can order these with a Meraki SKU, or you can order these with a Catalyst SKU. So it is investment protection for you, the customer. It is, flexibility as well, because now you could say, I am here within my journey, right? I am still leveraging, on-prem controllers as an example. Maybe my journey takes me to cloud from a Meraki dashboard, and I want to convert those over to a Meraki, AP and AP functionality and feature set, etc. So you'll have that flexibility of toggling either from Meraki to Catalyst or Catalyst to Meraki. Or if you have, let's say, a hybrid environment where you want to say, I want controller-based APs in large campus as one example, not necessarily the case, but as an example. And maybe I want, the Meraki for my branch, my retail offices as another example, right? But in any case, you're standardizing on one hardware, okay? Now, what it means is that on the 66, we have the 2.4, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz. They are all at 4x4 and 4 spatial streams. The 66 does give you the option to leverage one of the radios as either a 6 gigahertz or a 5 gigahertz for additional 5 gigahertz capacity, right? It does come with dual 5 gigs of M-Gig ports, right? So 2 ports of 5 gig M-Gig. And I also want to call out that we will be coming out with a 9166D, which stands for directional antenna. These are or directional AP. These will be internal antennas on this model as well. And then the 64 and 62, you can see here that we have some variations in terms of the 2.4 that gets 2x2 radios, 2 spatial streams, etc. And then the M-Gig is at 2.5 gigabits per second. And then on the 9162, which is the lower end AP, I would say that's the 2x2 on all 3 frequencies. All right, so again, we're just kind of calling out that Cisco is providing you with that investment protection. Again, you have the option to either deploy these in Meraki dashboard or leveraging DNA Center and the on-prem 9800 controller solution. So the next topic here is roadmap. So from a roadmap perspective, I'm sure a lot of you are interested in terms of where are we taking Meraki dashboard. One of the things that I want to call out and I want to highlight is that what we're doing is we're providing options. We're not saying that DNA sensor, as an example, is less important than what Meraki provides, right? DNA sensor has a place and will have a place for many customers that cannot adopt cloud as one example, right? So again, DNA sensor will continue to have its releases, have its support, development, etc. So it's not going anywhere. I just want to highlight that. Again, what we're providing is flexibility in terms of options. Now, from a roadmap perspective, again, we're at the monitoring state. On the left here, we have kind of like the shorter capabilities. So you can see here that we're looking to support things like the 9500X, which is brand new to the Catalyst portfolio. We're looking to incorporate things like being able to do iOS XE image upgrades on the switching side of the house, as well as provide config backups. So that is second half of calendar year 23. Now, some great news, right? Again, I started the slide or this part of the conversation with the slide that calls out the merging of the dashboard and Catalyst switching. So where's wireless, right? So by next year, we're looking to also provide the ability to monitor the wireless controllers. So again, if your direction is cloud management, and cloud monitoring, we will start with monitoring on the 9800 controllers. These are physical controllers. We're not talking about the virtual 9800 controllers. These are exclusively the physical aspects of the controller. In addition, we will support the 9100 series APs, right? And the 3800s, the 4800s of APs, right? So those will all be supported as well, or at least that's the plan. And then by the time we get to next year, there's something called appless onboarding. I am going to cover leveraging the app to onboard the switches, but hopefully in the future, we will be moving away from this app that I will cover in today's session. One of the things that you may have noticed is, well, the models that are supported today are basically the 1RU Catalyst switches. So where are the chassis? The chassis like 9400s, 9600s, those are not yet supported from a monitoring perspective. Those are on the roadmap, and they are looking to prioritize that in the future. The other thing that I'll note is, DNA sensor coexistence. So officially, you cannot have both, management or monitoring platforms, right? So if you're going to go with DNA Center, you're sticking with DNA Sensor. If you're going to go with the Meraki dashboard for monitoring, you go with the Meraki dashboard. Customers that have both or want to try out both, they are asking for this coexistence. So that is something that the BE is also aware of and also looking to be prioritized. So I know that there are customers that have done both, but again, it's not officially supported. So if you try it, when I onboarded, I have both, but again, I don't know what I don't know, and the BE wants to be ultra, let's say, cautious in terms of providing coexistence, so it is not officially supported. Just kind of a warning there. Okay, and again, these are some other timelines like layer 3 monitoring and switching, TACAC support. These are all, again, roadmap for another time. All right, so let's go ahead and transition over to the cloud monitoring with Meraki dashboard conversation, or part of the conversation. So if you're interested in onboarding one of your 1RU switches that I called out, like 9200s, 9300s, 9500s, and you want to put them in monitor mode in the dashboard, what that means is that you will not be able to make any sort of changes through the dashboard. Your changes will still be via, let's say, CLI, as an example, right? You're still kind of going into the switch, you're SSHing into the switch, you're making changes, but you will be able, at a minimum, be able to have these switches visible in the dashboard for monitoring purposes. Now, the process, I have to honestly say, is very simple. I hope you'll agree by the end of this part of the conversation that it is a simple process. The first step is that you're going to need all the IP addresses of the devices that you are looking to add to the monitoring of the Meraki dashboard, as well as the login credentials. I'm going to walk through these 3 steps in more detail, but I just want to, at a high level, call them out. The second thing you'll have to do is have a Meraki account, right? So basically access to a Meraki dashboard. You'll have an organization assigned to your company. And within that organization, you're going to pull the API key. So we're going to leverage that API key to make API calls to the Meraki dashboard for onboarding between the app and the dashboard. And then the third thing that you will need is basically an app. Again, the roadmap will transition from this app that we'll cover to an appless approach to onboarding. But as it stands today, we need this app. And again, this app is pretty seamless in my opinion. If you wanted more details in terms of, what are the steps? How can I learn what these steps are and what is exactly going on from an onboarding perspective? There is an onboarding guide that you can basically pull down, and you have all this documentation laid out for you step by step as well. All right. So now I'm going to kind of walk you through an example of how I onboarded my switch into the Meraki dashboard. The first thing I did was I went into my organization, and I looked for something called Dashboard API Access. You need to make sure that you enable or you hit this checkbox. And again, back to that initial conversation on simplicity, it's as simple as hitting checkboxes, right? No need for CLI and configuration. So the first thing is I want to hit this checkbox. I want to say I want to leverage Meraki APIs. The second thing is to click on this profile link. This profile link will open up something similar to what you see down here below. You're going to look for API access keys. Now, if you've never generated API keys, you will click on Generate New API Key. If you have generated API keys, then you need to go to that safe place where you keep the API key, and you're going to retrieve that API key for this onboarding process. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Now, the next thing you'll have to do is basically download the application. So again, under organization, you will select inventory. And then if you're looking to add Cisco Catalyst switches to dashboard, you're going to click here. When you click there, you're going to get an option in terms of what application are you looking to download for what operating system. Is it for Mac? Is it for Windows? Or is it for Linux? So in my case, I used Mac, and it was seamless. So once you launch the application, you're going to go ahead and get that API key. You're going to enter it here. You're going to click Start. And basically, you're going to be presented with the different organizations that you might have available to you. In my case, it was Meraki-OM. And I selected that, and now I'm ready to proceed. So again, going back to that initial step one where you needed to get the IP addresses and the administrative login credentials, I've entered my IP address as 125.37 or 1087.125.37. These are my credentials that provide me with privilege level 15 access, as well as my enable password. So that is key to be able to proceed. Once I am ready to proceed, I can validate those credentials, validate that I have communication to this device. So I will click on Start SSH Authentication. If for whatever reason you don't have the ability to SSH, then you have to kind of resolve that. But in my case, yes, SSH is available, successful SSH connection. I am ready to proceed to the next step. So the next step is once I can authenticate and I have communication to the devices, it's validating that that device can support the onboarding configuration to add it to the dashboard, right? So the first thing is, 17.3.1 plus of software. The code that you have to be running, it has to have the payload encryption, right? So it has to be that iOS XE image that supports encryption. You have to have DNS. You have to have the ability to leverage port 443 for communication. You have to also have AAA configuration as well. You have to have IP routing enabled. You have to have availability for loopbacks, VTY slots, and ACL configuration support. So again, these are all different aspects that are required in order for the provisioning to be successful. So if I want to ensure that I meet all those criteria, I will click on this Start Pre-Check. And in my case, when I first did it, I did not have AAA on my switch, right? So it's a lab switch, so I didn't have it. And I basically went in, I provided the AAA new model command, as well as an authentication local command. And now I am ready to retry, right? And reassess whether I am good to go. So in this case, now that I've addressed my issue, it'll go ahead and validate all those pre-checks you can see here highlighted. So, so now we're ready to go to the next step. The next step is to, under the organization, it wants to know, what network are you looking to assign these devices, right? So in my case, under my organization, I said I will apply it to the OM home network. You can see here the model that I am onboarding. It's a 48UXM at minimum. The serial number, my Catalyst serial number is highlighted here. I blurred out the rest of it, but this is where you'll see your Catalyst serial number as well. Now, the next thing is to say, okay, well, now that I've done my pre-checks, you have one next step of verification, if you like. And that is, what is actually going to get pushed out to these devices, or in this case, this device. So I could click on Show Details. When I do that, it basically walks you through a series of 5 areas of focus in terms of what is going to be provisioned on the switch at a minimum to be able to onboard the device into the dashboard, right? So this is some cleanup configuration in the event that, maybe there were some earlier attempts at the dashboard and onboarding. So we're going to do some cleanup work as a step 1. As step 2, we're going to make sure that we have netconf yang turned on the switch. We're going to make sure we have LLDP running, additional commands for SSH as well. We're going to make sure that we have a route to null 0. We're going to have authorization commands as well as authentication commands for AAA, additional ACL commands. And then this slide here basically calls out that, the VTYs and why we need the VTYs. We're going to also enhance SSH port with 2022. And then here's additional SSH communication. And then ultimately, we're going to provide it with a certificate so that we can create a TLS tunnel back to the Meraki dashboard. So a lot of information, just more for your reference in terms of, again, what's being pushed out. Here's a call out to the loopback and why we needed a loopback. But again, these are just for your awareness and to ensure that, we're not kind of doing anything that might cause any sort of conflict within that platform, right? So we want to make sure we're upfront in terms of what we're applying from an onboarding perspective. So once we're good there, we'll hit save and we're ready to proceed in terms of applying this config to the device. So we're applying configurations at this point, and then here you can see that we're checking again for validation, and we're waiting for the approval that this device is basically provisioned. And now once you see devices connected successfully, you can go into the dashboard and validate or verify that this device has been in fact onboarded. So in my case, I went to the dashboard, I took a look, and sure enough, here is the switch. In this case, it is a stack, so I actually had a stack of 2 switches, so that's the good news. If you wanted to onboard a stack, stacks are supported, and here you can see that I have a stack of 2 switches, and we will actually call out this label that it is in monitor only, so you cannot make any sort of changes, again, to these devices, which is good, right? The other thing that I'll call out is the serial number. So if you were paying attention and you saw that I had a Catalyst iOS XE serial number, now these devices have been provisioned with a Meraki serial number. So the serial number actually gets created as part of that onboarding process. So now you have an exclusive Meraki serial number as a part of this onboarding process. You'll see this in Krishna's demo, but I just wanted to call it out in the event that these slides are made available. This is not available as of yet, but it's something that, again, is roadmap, and it's this concept of a launch terminal capability. So the launch terminal capability will give you additional visibility that the UI does not provide today. So in other words, if you wanted to go ahead and validate certain commands and certain show commands, you'll be able to launch this terminal and be able to actually verify commands right into the switch through this backdoor. So again, it's not there yet. If you do the onboarding today, you won't see the launch terminal, but it's something that I wanted to make sure I called out for the team to be aware of, that it is something that the BE is working on providing as a future update. So with that, I want to actually call out one last slide here. I called this out earlier. It's basically, again, Cisco is a large company. The good news is that we provide you with options, and hopefully one of these options that we've called out in previous conversations is right for you. In any case, we're trying to provide you with the investment protection in the platform, such as those APs that I called out with the dual persona. And it is your journey, your way, at your time. We're here for you. If you have questions, please reach out to your account teams. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Krishna.
Awesome. Thank you, Orestes and Praveen. So let me share my screen. All right. So I'll continue from here. So we just saw how we can onboard a Catalyst switch to the Meraki dashboard. One thing I want to highlight here is you can create your Meraki account and you can log into the Meraki dashboard. If you have any of the Catalyst switches here, you can just follow the same process and you'll land at this point, right? So as Orestes highlighted, we have this monitor only tag. What we are providing here is you can view the Catalyst switch in the Meraki dashboard, similar to the Meraki switch, but with limited capabilities today, right? And we are highlighting as a monitor only for the Catalyst switch managing through the Meraki dashboard, right? So this is the switch inventory here. People who are familiar with the Meraki dashboard, that's fine, but who is new to the dashboard, so this is where we can see all the switch inventory, where this is a Meraki network and the switch inventory here. And if you go to that switch, you can see the switch view similar to the Meraki switch, right? And it is also showing you if there are any Catalyst switches that's in the dashboard, it's just showing you, highlighting the switches, and it will show you the inventory that are the switches that are supported to be a cloud monitoring switch, right? So you can enable all this in your Meraki dashboard. So what we are seeing here, similar to the Catalyst Meraki switch view. So this is a cloud monitoring Catalyst switch with all the IP address information here, and also the launch terminal functionality, right? I'll address that during the troubleshooting tools, right? So we also have this Catalyst serial number and also the Meraki serial number. So the one thing I want to highlight is you're still running the iOS XE code, but you'll be seeing this in the Meraki dashboard, right? You're seeing the historic device data, the insights about the client activity and the connectivity here. You can see the port view, the status of the ports, right? So this is the summary page where you can just quickly see the port information, client activity, connectivity, usage information there, and all the clients connected to the switch, right? If I want to know more about the ports, right? So I have all this port information here. I can go to the next tab where you can see all the ports. And if I want to select, if I want to see a specific port information, right? So this is important, right? So we are providing some telemetry and information about the endpoints connecting to the switch port, right? From the traffic perspective here, you can go back 30 days in time. You can see the port information, port traffic information here, and also the port configuration also with the usage and traffic here, right? You can also see the show CDP neighbors, show CDP neighbors. If this is an IP phone, you can see that model here showing you what client is connected there. And if there is an endpoint connected behind that, piggybacking to the IP phone, you can also see those clients here, right? And the thing is, if you want to troubleshoot, if you want to recycle, if you want to shut down the port and re-enable that, you can also do it from here, right? For some reason, if you're trying something, testing something, you can use this functionality for the troubleshooting here and more packet information, right? So this is a port information and the client information where you can select that port and you can see all that client information and the port information, right? So one thing to highlight here is the event log. You can see all the events occurring on this switch during the troubleshooting phase. You can see a full event log, maybe on the different switch. You can select the switch and you can see all the events under this tab, right? Going to the location here, we're going to show you an integrated view of this Catalyst switch and all the other switches, Meraki switches in the dashboard here. So this is what under the topology, you can see the complete map here, right? And also you can see a map view where the switch is deployed, right? And going to the tools. So this is important here. You don't need to access the CLI, but if you want to access the CLI, you still have the option here to launch the terminal. You can have this troubleshooting tools. These are the tools we use for our Meraki switches that's provided to the Catalyst switch, right? We have this ping functionality here, and also we have this terminal feature, right? We already saw this in the presentation, but this is again limited to certain Meraki dashboards, but not enabled across the board. So this is a beta functionality today, right? I can simply run any show command here. I can see the show run config, and I can just give it some time so we can see that show run command and configuration pop up on this terminal here, right? I'll just give it a second there, and also the site the shutdown functionality again. You have this one here, cycle port, where if you want to troubleshoot or try something, you can do that here, and you can run this MAC forwarding table, right? You can have this L2 MAC table here, and you can see the L2 MAC table. Let me try this functionality on the other switch, see if I'm having the access to the right.
Try it on the stack.
So there are other switches here.
Yeah, on that stack there, it should work fine.
Yeah. I can also directly launch from here, and
They didn't get the demo. They didn't get the memo.
Demo gods are not cooperating today.
They didn't get the memo that we were working on demoing this.
yeah, I tried this morning, so it worked. For some reason, it's not showing up.
Yeah.
But the thing is, eventually, after this beta functionality, right, we can see that information here. You can run all the show commands and verify during the troubleshooting process, right? So one thing I want to highlight on this one is it's not just like we are having all these tools, but also you can manage these alerts here. You can adjust the alert settings on the switch. For example, so there are alerts specific to the Meraki switch, right? But there are also alerts where you can set for the Catalyst switch monitored through the Meraki dashboard, right? If a switch goes offline, or if there is a power supply issue or anything with the link speed, you can schedule for the Catalyst switches in the Meraki dashboard, right? That's one thing. And the switch stacks, right? So we already saw this switch stacks here. You can also monitor the Catalyst switches here on this dashboard. And if you want to see a complete view of both the switches, you can see the switches. And again, if you click on any of this switch port, it will take back you to the port configuration and all that information showed about the clients and historic data about that switch port, right? So So it's giving you at least the initial information, telemetry from the Catalyst switch, and also some very powerful tools here. Let me see if this one, so it's still waiting on this one, right? So not sure, I think, yeah. I might be accessing some different server there, right? So that's on the demo side, right? And also the client health information. It will give you the client health information here, all the clients that's connected to the Catalyst switch, right? The basic information here, but I don't have much traffic happening on this client. But if you have any active clients on this switch, you can see the logs. Again, you can see the application information here. You can see the logs and usage for last 30 days, right? You can see the complete event log on this switch, right? So you can also see this client usage information under the client portal. And so that's all the part of this today's demo. So we might have more functionality in future, but this is the first step where we can at least provide access to the Catalyst switches in the Meraki dashboard. You can, again, today you can create your Meraki account and you can add the switches, convert your switches, and you can add the switches to the Meraki dashboard. And appreciate your time today. Over to you, Praveen. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Thank you, Krishna and Rusties. Thanks for everybody joining today's session. I want to just remind our next session for this series will be on June 29th. And then we start to rerun the series starting on July 12th all the way up to July 16th. So if you missed it, please catch the next run of this series. I also want to let you all know that the recordings and the presentation will be shared to you by an email at the close of business today or tomorrow. You should be getting an email from us. And then as a gentle reminder again, there's going to be a survey that will pop up as soon as the session ends. Please take that survey. It helps us improve our future sessions. With that, I really want to thank everybody for joining today's session and giving some of your time on the Wednesday morning. And appreciate everybody joining. And thank you again.